So the first deal I've got, it's a 10-team start 10 PPR no tight end premium. Travis Etienne and a 2024 third for Jonathan Taylor. Now for me, this is a smash on the Etienne side. Because if I'm looking at Travis Etienne and Jonathan Taylor straight up, I'm taking Travis Etienne. Now, the sweetener is, of course, the third, and it is just a third. It's essentially a lottery ticket when you think of hit rates on thirds, but it is a third in a 10-team, which is solid, and you're starting 10, so it never hurts to have another third. Who knows? That could be the third that you pair with another player to move up to the second in 2024. That's usually how I view those thirds, but Jonathan Taylor's had a pretty disappointing year. He's still splitting work with Zach Moss, and over the last 2 weeks, it's really been Moss has been more effective, certainly from a fantasy standpoint. Of course, Anthony Richardson's hurt. This isn't the team that going into the season I think we expected, but really hoping that Taylor can turn it around, but I'd rather take the one that's currently performing better and getting a third out of it. Jumping over to the second deal, 10-team start 9 PPR tight end premium. No tight end premium, excuse me. Travis Etienne, 2024 third. T. Higgins, and a 2024 first. So that's Etienne in a third for T. Higgins in a 2024 first. This one was more interesting to me, given how T. Higgins hasn't exactly been going bonkers this season, but it's Higgins in the first. I think about a more stable asset in T. Higgins, given he is a wide receiver, and I assume by this time next year, he's going to be on a different team. I don't know that the Bengals are going to keep him. I know they'd want to, obviously. But again, even if he stayed in the Bengals, being tied to Joe Burrow is not a bad thing, even though their offense has been a bit wonky this year thus far. And I do hope he actually ends up going to another team where he can be that number one target. Certainly from a fantasy perspective, that's what the hope is. But then you hope it's a decent enough quarterback that can feed him the ball well enough. But that on top of getting a 2024 first, as we know, Etienne started his career getting an immediate injury, so I'd rather carry a strong wide receiver and first into the offseason than I would a running back and a third. And the final one I've got here, this one was tough. So 12-team start 10 PPR half-point tight end premium. Travis Etienne for Marquise Hollywood Brown and a 2024 first. So this again, at this point, if you're competing, I can very clearly see why you would send away Marquise Brown in that first to get Etienne. If that was that last kind of bit to push you over the top, again, I would imagine if you're sending away Marquise Brown in this deal, he's a depth guy that you probably haven't even started at this point in the year. Maybe you have once because of injury or something. And I can certainly understand why you do that. If you're rebuilding, I can understand why you obviously want to get the Marquise Brown in 2024 first side. It's tough because Etienne is performing so well, and it is so clearly his backfield, despite all the nonsense that was spouted at the beginning of the year, or before the season started, talking about Tank Bigsby going to steal his job, or steal 50% of the work. Not even close.